Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, an authentic football fan channel made in Manchester. And football is finally back this weekend. Shreyas just talking to myself off camera about how he's watching teams in Europe just because he's craving football. But not to worry, we've got football back. Obviously, the Premier League returns today, but Manchester United are back tomorrow. And with that, there's loads of stuff coming out around Amorim. I mean, Gary Neville's done an interview with him. There's been a press conference. There's been loads of stuff I've not been able to cover because, as I mentioned to you guys yesterday, I was at an event for like 10 hours hosting, so I've had no time to kind of cover. But we have, as well, not left you without content. We've put stuff out, Premier League predictions. We've got an interview coming out tonight with Dougie Critchley from Sky Sports, who's like a European football expert, which is really, really good. So make sure you guys check those out a little bit later on. But for today, Shreyas, we're going to be discussing Amorim and Mason Mount, because there's an individual quote that I really want to focus on and talk about his role in the team in the next kind of couple of months. How big this job actually is. There's a couple of quotes on that, how the team can improve and how we feel it can improve, and anything else we'd add on to that. Ugarte individually, there's some more stuff coming out, and then a couple of transfer stories. So yeah, first and foremost, how's your weekend so far?
Yeah, it's going pretty chill. It's going very well, and I'm quite happy that finally club football is back. And like I mentioned off camera before, I just wanted to see some club football. So any league, the French league, Portuguese league, the Bundesliga, I've just been watching matches on and off, and it feels nice. It's a good change of pace after the international break.
There's nothing like Premier League football, though, is there? Like, you can watch others,
Nah,
you can watch, because you mentioned the German league there. I'd say, and I feel like even Ragnick said this, when the top team.
any other league, I would say people who actually follow football quite regularly, they know which way it's going to go.
Yeah. Sam early in the chat saying, why is Nick wearing a disco ball on his head? So I can either, the truth to that, or the lie to that, is that I'm still in party mode, and I'm still
Yeah.
in house mode, and I'm living life. The truth of that side is I've got bad bed air. For some reason I've got bits sticking up. So this is quite literally just to cover that. So deal with it, basically. But thank you for touching on that. McMillan saying Mount is the most perfect player for Amorim. He'll become one of our best players under Ruben under RM. Under, what does that mean? Under RM?
Under Real Madrid, yeah.
Under Real Madrid?
I think it means Ruben Amorim.
Oh, right. Sorry, I mean,
Yeah.
my brain isn't working. I'm going to be slow today, I'm telling you. Mount is a coach's dream, follows instructions to a T, and RM is a system coach, and MM a system. Yeah, I don't know. Please explain what that acronym means, because my brain's really, really slow. But big up Connor,
Yeah, it's
who's in the
Ruben
chat as
Amorim.
well. Big
It
up.
means Ruben Amorim.
Yeah, but Ruben Amorim would be RA, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think he's trying to connect it with
Right,
RM.
okay. Well, maybe you're the slow one, McMillan. How about that? I'll throw it back at you. Let's discuss Mason Mount then, because obviously that is the headline.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the gripping news that came, well, the gripping line, I should say, that's coming out of it. And he said, Mason Mount, I have to tell you, I love that kid. You can look in his eyes that he wants this so bad, and he's the most important thing for me. He played in this system before, so it's perfect for him. I have 2 positions for Mason Mount, so he should be very happy. 2 positions. What do you reckon they are?
Yeah, I think the box-to-box mid-role that Braganza plays for them at Sporting, I think Mount can slot in there quite well, because for someone to carry the ball, for someone to make runs and cover a lot of ground, I think Mount can fill into that position. And the other position is obviously the number 10, because he has, I would say, he's more naturally a 10. But I think in both of these cases, whether he has to play as a box-to-box mid or whether he has to play as that creative playmaker alongside Bruno, I think in both those divisions he can do a very good job. The only thing is to keep him fit, because I personally feel he's very talented on the ball. I think he's got a lot to offer, especially in this team and with the players that he's surrounded with. I think he can offer a lot more to us than what we have actually been able to see on the pitch. And when it comes to work rate, when it comes to pressing and off the ball moments, he's probably one of the best we've got alongside Bruno to match those sort of work rate and intensity. So I think getting Ruben Amorim in is probably a new lease of life for someone like Mason Mount. And I hope, but the way things are coming out, we might be seeing him starting against Ipswich, might be on the cards. So I just hope that, whenever we see him, I hope first off that he doesn't get any injury. I hope he has a good run of like 10 to 15 games where we can actually see him playing consistently, get some minutes, and yeah, just hope for the best, because he's genuinely, once again, he's a very important system system player for Ruben Amorim. If he's able to stay fit, he can do a lot of he can do a lot of favors to Ruben Amorim.
The big question I've got in my mind, and theoretically it's all great, and like you just touched on his injuries, he's got to stay fit in it. He just has to stay fit. Otherwise, it's all pointless talking about this and how good he can be. Now, the other kind of side bit, or the flip side of the coin to that is, what, and we discussed this briefly before, was it Ten Hag's training methods? Was it how much distance they was covering, which is why they was pulling up so much, maybe with muscle injuries? Or is it the fact that he's just become an injury-prone player? Because at Chelsea, he didn't have loads of injuries. Obviously, he had a big one, didn't he, towards the end of the season? It was, I think it was his pelvic or something like that he was struggling with.
Yeah.
But apart from that, as far as I'm aware, his injury history wasn't
He's played loads of games.
Yeah.
For Chelsea, and
but I think
there were a couple of seasons under Tuchel where he played for Chelsea week in and week out, and then during the international break he used to play for England as well on a consistent basis. So I'm not sure if he is an injury-prone player. I think one of the things is that in the past 2 seasons, United haven't really managed injuries quite well. They've rushed players back, and when you factor that with the training methods that Ten Hag used to use for a player who's just coming out of an injury and is not fully fit, if he has to go through that much strain, it can cause a lot of issues to the body.
Yeah, a lot of people say about him a jack of all trades, master of none. But I think a couple of things that Ruben Amorim was describing when he was coming into the club and what he wants in terms of profiles of a player was always intensity. That like you said, you could see it in his eyes that he wants it. You want these players absolutely that will just die for you on the pitch, and he is one of those. And that's why I've always had that little something that where I'm like, do you know what? I know he's picking up loads of injuries, but I'm telling you now, if he stays fit, he will be a key cog for any team. Any team. If you watched him closely at Chelsea when they won the Champions League and that season in the Premier League, it was unbelievable for him. Free kicks, everything, like 10 goals, 10 assists, I think he got. So there's definitely a player in there, and it's not like we're talking like a 30-year-old there or a 33-year-old. The guy is like 25, 24. So hopefully it is a big asterisk and it's a big kind of what if. But if they can stay fit, let's see what happens. Let's see. I don't know if they've made any changes necessarily to, the medical staff or a big overall of that, but it could just come down simply to like training methods, couldn't it? I suppose. But I'm not sure. Right, let's talk about the job itself then. There's a quote on that. They're always going to say Louis van Gaal's been here, Jose Mourinho, all these managers have been here. It's an impossible job. So what makes you any different is effectively the question I got put to him, and he was like, an impossible job? Of course not. Call me naive, but I truly believe I am the right guy in the right moment. I could be wrong, but the earth will still turn, the sun will rise again. I'm not worried about that. In your mind, in your gut feeling, Shreyas, does he feel like the right one?
Yeah.
Why?
I think in comparison to all the managers that we've had up until now, there are only two managers who have given me a positive feeling. One was when Jose came in, and now when Ruben's come in, it gives me that sort of feeling. And one thing is because the kind of people that he's surrounded with and the people who are now heading the club, especially when it comes to the footballing side, they actually know how to get things done, and they actually know how football works and how to back a manager and how to actually fix the issues that are present at the club right now. And with the kind of things that we have been hearing and coming out, that United don't expect to break the bank for any player in the upcoming windows. They want to make sure that first the talent that is already present in the team, that can be utilized, and if that can hit to a level where you can go and say that you are just 2 or 3 players behind, then they'll invest it in that perspective. But if there is a big gap, then they'll probably sell players off first and then get players in, which is a big issue, which has always been a big issue for us, because every single window, I would say, we've been investing a lot of money. We've been getting players in, but it's been a struggle for us to actually get players out. And I think this time in this window under Ineos, I think they've tried their level best to actually get players out of players out of the club, get some new fresh faces in. And now that Amorim has come in, I think this is their guy. This is the person that they wanted, and they've acted very quick to actually get him in. So I'm sure that they must have a very, very good project in their mind when it comes to Amorim. And I think in comparison to other managers, he'll be backed, and he'll be backed in a sustainable way, rather than if you compare it to other people who have been if you have to like compare Oli, or even if you have to compare Ten Hag, backed in the first season, but In Ten Hag's case, it was different, but any other manager back in the first season after that, it was just chaos. So I'm genuinely feeling much more positive when it comes to looking at it like 3 years or 4 years down the line. I think he could still be here around the club.
Apologies about that phone call. That was quite literally Ruben Amorim calling Shreyas for a couple of words. So don't worry about that. Yeah, we've spoken a lot about what he's going to bring and what we expect from his formations and how players can fit into that. But we haven't really spoken in depth about what he needs to improve with the players. You know, when you look at the past couple of years, and he mentioned that we lose the ball too often. We need to be better at running back, be very good in kind of the details. We need to improve on the small details as well. We know from how much we've watched Manchester United over the past couple of years, spacing issues has been something. Being compact in all phases, on and off the ball. You got to play well in transitions. I think the defensive transition has just been awful. How many times have you seen us get caught, Shreyas, where it's just like...
Yeah.
There's one guy chasing 5 guys back across the pitch. That is something that we have to improve in it.
Yeah, we definitely need to. And it's not just been like it's happening this season. It's happened the season before it as well. And we've seen how poor we are off when when we lose the ball and we're trying to win it back. We're very, very poor. And the positioning of our players is actually much, much poorer as well, because you can see Dallo is off position. I think the only 2 people who actually, used to be in the right areas, one used to be Mazraoui and the other used to be Casemiro, who, tried to actually cover as much ground as possible. But it's not possible to do it when you've got, with the way, you're coming up against teams in the Premier League. You give them that much of space and you give them that many opportunities, and not just like it happens once or twice in a game. That happens 10 or 11 times per game. So they are going to punish you if you provide them with that sort of space in behind. And another thing is that it wasn't a sustainable way of actually playing football, and we saw it on a regular basis as well, that when we started games in a positive manner, we used to get 2 or 3 3-0 goal leads, and we used to throw it away by the time the 90-minute mark hit. So there definitely needed to be a change, and now I expect a lot more organization when it comes to the midfield line, and I expect a lot more think, and I expect a lot more discipline when it comes to pressing, because earlier on when we used to press, it used to be Bruno is running somewhere and Rashford is not running, Garnacho is trying to run, and then exactly, and then an entire space gets left in behind, and then Casemiro is actually just watching. Like take the Brentford game for example, when we conceded the goal. He's looking at Mbeumo who's running.
the players off the ball, the wingers would be so high up, wouldn't they? Like Garnacho and Rashford would be right. It'd be like almost like a 4. So the spacing in the middle was so big, and that's obviously going to be significantly different under Amorim. The thing I'm kind of thinking in my head is, how do you address these kind of physical issues mid-season? I don't think you can, in terms of with the profile of players that you've got in your Eriksen's or Casemiro's. Like, I know Casemiro's defensively can be good, but I'm talking about like pure physical runners who you need in that team. I think the reason why Liverpool midfield works so well in McAllister, Szoboszlai and Gravenberch is because they are dogged. They do work for each other. They'll cover. There's a lot of rotation in there, so you need that. So I don't know how we address those problems mid-season. I don't know if they do something in January. I highly doubt it, because the reports that are coming out at the moment are suggesting that he's not going to go and do that. So you have to work with the players that you've got, and then even maybe in the summer, it might be a little bit tricky there. You might not have as much of a bigger budget, depending on whether you get European football or not. So do you have enough faith in the list of players we have currently to get enough out of them, to squeeze enough out of them?
I think even when you mention physicality, I think Ugarte is checking all the boxes in that department. He knows how to cover ground. He knows how to win the ball back, and he's someone who can do that job for an entire 90. He can keep running and running and running. The other player I think who can match up with him is Kobe Menu when he's fit enough to actually play a consistent run of games. I think Menu can slot right in as well, and I think Casemiro and Ugarte work well as a pair. Casemiro is someone who is able to take the ball off and actually spread it out wide, or even play it directly to Bruno. Ugarte is someone who is able to match up with the pace of the counter attacks and actually win the ball back off. I still think I think he still has a lot of ground to cover when it comes to certain departments, like spreading the ball out wide or carrying the ball when he wins it back and trying to break play those passes that break through the lines. I think Casemiro is much better in comparison to him in that department, but he'll slowly get to that level. He's still very young. So I do think with the kind of players that we have at our disposal right now, I think Ugarte, Casemiro, and Meno for that midfield position of two players, I think they can do a good job in that
Interesting.
department. And in the off game, when you need someone to slot in there, you've always got the option of playing Mason Mount in there just to have more legs in there, or we might be seeing a case where someone plays like maybe Lisandro shifts into that position to match up with the physicality at times. Maybe we see Mazraoui slotting into that position at times to match up, to make sure that you don't lose out on the ball a lot more. So there are a lot of permutations that can happen in this team right now.
I'm going to ask you for you, because you wasn't on the Ipswich preview. I'm going to ask you. Oh, was you? You weren't? Was you on the Ipswich preview?
No.
No, I was going to say. Sorry, it's been a long couple of days. I'll ask you for your team in a moment, but I just want to ask people in the chat who are in here, whether it's Connor, James, McMillan, Steph, everyone who's joining, who would your preferred midfield be? Because there is a kind of debate ongoing, because Casemiro and Ugarte have done so well so far, at least in the past couple of weeks. But Kobbie Mainoo coming back in, what pairing do you have in that midfield? And give me your front three as well. In fact, just give me your team for Ipswich or who you want to play. Put it in there, whether it's attackers, midfields, or the defence kind of partnership.
Okay.
Get it in there. Shreyas, talk me through it.
Yeah, I think Onana in net. I think no one doubts that. I think for the three centre backs, I'll go with De Ligt. I'll go with Lisandro, and I don't think he's going to straight away put Euro in. I think he might get minutes, but I don't think that he'll be starting. So instead of Euro, I'll put in Johnny Evans, because I think he can do a good job in a three back. He's been sensational in a four back system. I think he can do a good.
Do you know what about him? Him and Maguire, those switches of play, where you're going to see a lot in this Amorim thing.
Yeah. I think they can do a very good job, both of them. So maybe Maguire plays, but for me right now it would be Evans. He's been having a good run of games, and I think
he's been good.
So I'd put Evans in there. Then as the wing backs, I think Mazraoui will definitely be playing. I think Mazraoui deserves the spot as well.
Left wing back or right wing back?
Right wing back. I think Mazraoui plays right wing back.
Okay.
Yeah, and from the left hand side, I think you might be seeing Garnacho playing there. There might be a good case that Garnacho plays there, because with the way I've seen Nuno Santos play at Sporting, he covers a lot of ground there. When you look at his defensive side of things, when you speak about Nuno Santos, it's not that great, because he really doesn't put in that much of a defensive shift. He's someone who just covers ground and tries to keep the width. So with Garnacho, you can keep the width if you just allow him to float into those spaces on the left hand side and let Bruno occupy the half spaces in between Højlund and Garnacho. It can work out quite well. So for me, Garnacho will be on the left hand side. The two pivots, I would go Casemiro and Ugarte.
I think say, Ugarte. On Ugarte, I've got some stats here. Sorry to cut you in, but just because you mentioned his name.
Sure.
In Ruben Amorim Sporting in 22-23, most tackles in defensive third, most tackles in the middle third, most tackles in the final third, most interceptions, most ball recoveries, most switches of play, most fouls won, most blocks, most balls win leading to shots. So it tells you everything you need to know about volume under Amorim.
Yeah, and I think he's going to shine. I think under Ruud Nistelrooy as well, we've seen glimpses of how good he can actually be, and it is still early days, so you can just imagine the level he can get to. So I think Ugarte and I think Casemiro as well, just like Evans, he's been very consistent. He's been having a very good run of games, so I don't see any point in dropping him. If you want to slot Mainoo in, get him some minutes, probably like 30 minutes. If you feel that the squad is getting a bit tired, Mainoo can come in and do just as much of a fine job, because he's naturally gifted. When it comes to the front line, I'll go with Bruno and I'll go with Mount and then Højlund up top.
So I'll put Mount Ahmad, no Rashford, no Garnacho.
No, not Garnacho on the left.
Oh yeah, you said Garnacho. Apologies.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking so Rashford, Ahmad misses out. There's a couple others.
And
Mainoo misses out. What do you think? Because of injury, that's why it might.
Yeah, I think we need to be careful. Because last season as well, when Mainoo had the injury, he had, you need to be very careful with these youngsters. So I think Mainoo, he might get some minutes, same with Euro. I think Ahmad, you might see Ahmad or Mount play, because till now, from how stuff has been coming out from Amorim, I think Ahmad and Mount are the two players that he really, really likes. Yeah. But I don't see him dropping Bruno, because I think Bruno really is very important if you want to play this sort of system, and he can be very, very deadly in behind Højlund. So Bruno plays there. I think it could be either of them, Mount or Ahmad, but I'll not be disappointed to see Mount or Ahmad, any one of them playing there.
I agree. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Right, let's see what the guys are saying. So James McGrogan saying Ineos is sure to back Ruben once he's coached. See to see some improvements in the team. UTFR says we all love Mace. Steph saying big up Nick and Shreyas, real Reds Talk legends. Nice to see you in the chat, Steph. Where's Richard gone, by the way? I've seen Richard in weeks. He used to be on every single stream, and I'm just not seeing his name. James McGrogan saying midfield, I'd go with Cass and Ugarte. If we play a better team like that, likes to bully midfield, but team we expect to beat Kobe and Cass and Kobe and then Casemiro. Sorry, I should have Shreyas reading these out because honestly, my brain's not working. But I know what you're trying to say, James McGrogan. I'll just say that. Connor's saying I'd keep Casemiro and Ugarte in for this game and bring on Mainu in the second half with only just coming back, and Mount should come off the bench too. And McMillan saying I don't think Garnacho plays left wing back if Leacher is left centre back because Leacher isn't great defending wide spaces. If Leacher is at left centre back, we need a player who tracks back and defends, unlike Garnacho. Well, I think again it'll be what a lot of people are saying, and I think maybe what people are agreeing with is it's just profile who you're coming up against, who you're playing. That will change quite a lot, I'd imagine. There'll be key cogs in there, but there will be, alternate options for sure, especially with the squad that we've got. So, random guy with a super chat. Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate you, man. You are quite literally a pillar in this community. So thank you for the super chat. Saying nice hat. Hope everyone is having a nice afternoon. Listen, I've just got this on because the hair underneath it looks like I've been electrocuted. So I'm keeping it on, whether it looks like a fucking disco ball or not. Have you seen Anthony's stats as a defensive winger? His ball recovery and tackling at the top. Food for thought. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
we mentioned this multiple times.
Yeah.
Don't write him off.
Yeah.
It could be effective, especially if you look at Giovanni Guendo at Sporting. He's obviously, well, not obviously, he's inverted footed as well as a wing back. I'm not saying they are similar players, but there's similar things there. I would say. Wow, 8.4k, congrats. We're on the road to 10k, man. We did 300 subscribers overnight. We woke up this morning and we all collectively said, as a group in the chat, what the fuck has happened? What's going on?
It's been happening since 2 days.
Yeah, past couple of days.
And the first thing I do is, just text, 300 subs more.
So this month alone, I think, I'll double check the YouTube analytics in a moment, but we've done 1,000 subs this month alone, which is madness. So yeah, thank you very much for that. See Mount starting, as Mount has already played in a similar system before, so he's experienced unlike Ahmad. Can't wait for the merch drop at 10k subs, got to pick it up the first chance I get. Well, appreciate you all. That's one of the big things I definitely want to do, and also celebrations, because I think regardless, I think to get to 10,000 subscribers for people to watch your content, I think that's an amazing achievement. So I'm sure we'll do something for that, and we'll have a big show and a celebration as well. But yeah, I want to go through a couple of the transfer stories, Shreyas, just to kind of round the show off, because we're getting near the 30-minute mark. United, and we was talking about the midfield then. United are discussing and considering Atalanta midfielder Edison. The player is highly valued internally, and the club is looking for reinforcements in his position, possibly as early as January. Now, other names that have been thrown into there as well have been Leon Goretzka, so I'll just tag that in. This is from the same journalist who's quite well in, when it comes to German football, he knows his stuff and he's quite reliable. And Goretzka's a name that keeps getting linked with us. Yeah. Edison's a name that I've seen linked with us quite a few times as well. Do you have a preference in the midfielder you would go for? Are you happy with the current crop? Who do you think we need, in your opinion?
I think for this season, I'm happy with the resources we've got. But moving on to next season, I'm not sure if Casemiro can take another season in the Prem. I'm sure that he can do a job for us this season, and I think he's got it in his locker to give us a good 9 to 10 months. But I'm not sure whether as a long-term project Casemiro can do the job for us. Maybe keep him around the club as someone as a veteran, as someone who can actually offload some experience into the youngsters. But I think moving forward, we need someone who can be. I think any team, when it comes to those two pivot spots, you need 3 starters in there, because you never show who picks up an injury. Ugarte might pick up an injury. Mainu might pick up an injury. So you need someone who can slot right in and do a job for you. So I think next season onwards, I think Goretzka is not a name that gives me as much confidence, because since COVID lockdown days, I've been hearing that name, that it might happen, it might happen, it might happen. We get constantly linked with him and it never happens. And I think he's 30 or 31 now.
I
So
don't even know. Let me check. I'll double check that for
yeah,
you. Go on.
just his age profile doesn't really make much sense to me either, considering the type of project that we are under in right now with
29
Ruben Amorim.
Goretzka.
Yeah, so I really
Don't make
don't think
sense,
that
does it?
it makes as much sense.
Mm.
I think if we would have moved in this season and gotten Rabiot in, I would have a bit different approach because I
Yeah.
think he's very talented on the ball and he's someone who can actually, retain possession a lot better. But he's
And he's a better
gone.
player, in my opinion. He's
He
a better
is,
player than
yeah,
Goretzka.
on the ball, he's technically very, very sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can make, he's a bit similar to Mazraoui in that sense. Like from a tactical standpoint, they're very, very good. But he's gone on to Marseille. But Goretzka is not a name that gives me as much confidence. Ederson from Atlanta, he plays in a very similar system. They play that 3-4-2 and 3-4
Yeah.
the 3
Gasparina.
formation as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. So and he does a very good job for them. Last year when they beat Leverkusen in the final, Ederson was quite instrumental in that game as well, and he's been a consistent figure in that 11 for them alongside De Ketelaere, Lookman. They have a very good core, but I'm just not sure. I just want to, divert myself away from two leagues. That one is the Serie A and one is the Eredivisie when it comes to signings, because the hit miss ratio from these two, from these two leagues, especially for us, hasn't been that great.
Mm.
So I think still need to do a lot more scouting, and I think there are going to be a lot more better options that are
Mm.
going to be available for us, who actually give us a lot more confidence.
I think Goretzka is one of the most overrated players ever.
Yeah,
Honestly, I think people see pictures of him like when he was at Bayern, when he was jacked, like he was massive. They see that and they see him on FIFA and they put two and two together and they're like, "Oh, he's amazing." But if you
yeah,
actually watched him, he can be like quite unreliable at times, a bit inconsistent, can
yeah.
lose the ball quite a bit, a little bit stiff in the midfield. So for me, I've never been like a huge fan of it. Maybe like 5 years ago or 6 years ago would have been, yeah, maybe it's a player we can
Yeah,
look at in terms
but
of, because they're
it
looking
doesn't
for
make
that
sense
physical
now.
profile, right? I get that.
Mm,
I understand it.
mm.
But now, technically, when you get to your 30s, you do start declining in the physical profile. So, yeah, I think he's using our name as a push for a new contract. I think you see it
He
all
does
the
it every
time.
single time.
All the time, see it with players. It happens. They throw United's name in it, and it's like, oh, these guys are interested, so we'll offer them a little bit more, some kind of shit like that. UTFR's got a great shout. Gomez from Wolves, I do like. I'm a big fan
Yeah,
of. It's someone I would definitely consider. Edison's 25 too, as well. It's from James McGrogan. It's pronounced Giovanni Quenda. Oh, Quenda? The U is silent, lads. Apologies about that. Listen, if
okay.
you've learned anything by now with the 2-3 years that we've been doing this, me pronouncing names is just not up there. So, yeah, unfortunately, you have to deal with that. McMillan's going for the Ipswich game. Onana, Dallo, Yoro, Delit, Evans, Mizraure, Menu, Casemiro, Bruno Mount, and Rashford up top. Very interesting. Well, we've not got long now. We're quite
Yeah.
literally almost.
I think recently we were linked with this youngster from Sunderland, Chris
Yeah,
Rigg,
yeah.
who
Rig.
plays
Chris
in that
Rig.
central midfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and he's rated very highly. So maybe we
Yeah.
see him. Maybe Adam Wharton is a name that gets popped around by the time next season rolls in
Yeah.
to play in that
Got
position.
quiet
So
on him,
there
though.
are a lot of options.
On Adam Wharton, he was like, he had
Yeah.
this big rise last season, and then it's gone really. Obviously, Palace have been doing pretty shit, haven't they? But yeah, he seems to have gone really quiet. I did like from
Yeah.
what I saw at him. Connor's saying, would you guys take Angel Gomez back? The thing is about Angel Gomez, I think he's a brilliant footballer, but I think his size and physicality in the Premier League, I think he would really struggle. That's the only issue for me.
And I think the position that he will prefer to play, we've already got two
Yeah,
very good players in that
yeah, we're
position
talking about
already.
who's going to start there, so it's like it's a tricky one.
Exactly.
If he's happy to be a rotational player, I mean, I'd
Yeah.
probably consider it, but I think he wants to be a regular in the team.
I think that's the reason he
Angel
left in the
Gomez.
first place, because he wants
Exactly.
consistent minutes.
Exactly, yeah. So there it is. Right, we've finished on the 30-minute marker. Of course, football has kicked off. You've got Chelsea versus Leicester, so I know a lot of people will be craving football, so we'll leave it there. We've got an interview dropping tonight with Dougie Critchley from Sky Sports, who's a European football expert. I picked his brain about basically how to get... So the reason why I got him on the show, I saw a video of his... speaking about football media and how to get involved in it, and basically what we're doing and just be involved in this kind of world and what kind of first steps you need to take, because obviously he works for Football Daily, he works for Sky, like he's right up there in terms of reputation, and his football brain's amazing. So I spoke to him about that first and foremost. So if that's something you're interested in, check it out. And then I spoke to him about Man United, what to expect from Ruben Amorim coming in, what players could flourish, what players might struggle, and then football in general, and a couple of interesting questions in between. So it's a quick watch. It's like 15-20 minutes max, I believe. And that's dropping tonight around 7 or 8 o'clock, I think Sam said. So keep an eye out for that. Let me know your thoughts on that, because we're going to get more and more guests on. We're building this channel. We're getting closer to 10,000 subs. And yeah, I mean, I was speaking to a couple of people. I mentioned it was at a tournament yesterday. The other place that I work at Fives, I was hosting a Super 6 winner takes all £10,000 cash prize tournament. You had Angry Ginge there, Stratford Paddock, B2R, Beatties, SE Dons, like Hums, loads of content creators in there. And I was chatting with a couple of those as well. So just keep an eye out on this channel. And yeah, when we get to 10K, it's going to be a mega either giveaway or we're going to drop some merch. We're going to do loads of stuff. So exciting times, man. And football's back, Shreyas.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah.
And no more international breaks for some time.
Still March, I think.
Yeah.
Until March. Yeah. So long may that continue. Apart from that, enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Obviously, we're going to be live for the game tomorrow. You don't need to worry about that pre and post match. Obviously, Ruben Amorim's I can't wait to see it. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Leave a like on the video for us just before you head off if you can. Subscribe if you're new here. Welcome to the community if you are. And me and Shreyas will see you guys in the next